Good afternoon, everyone. It's exactly 2 p.m. this afternoon, December 17, 2021, to hear the renomination of Mr. Valentino M. Tysacan Jr. to serve as a member of the Cnmi Cannabis Commission. I would like to call this meeting to order now. And pursuant to on item 2 on the agenda, on the SNILD delegation rule, section 7, rule 7, section 5C, it only requires 3 members to have an established quorum. Go ahead. Welcome, representatives. And we actually have a majority of the members present this afternoon to hear the renomination of the nominee. And except for Representative Tina Sablan, she is excused this afternoon. May I hear a motion to adopt the agenda this afternoon? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The agenda for this afternoon is officially adopted. We are now open for public comments. Section 4 of the agenda. Anybody that would like to make a public comment may step up to the table and speak in the microphone. And please state your name. And if you have a copy of your testimony, to please provide a copy to the Sergeant at Arms for our records. Thank you. Public comments is open right now. Welcome. Go ahead, please state your name and your title, and you may proceed. You have 5 minutes to make your public comment.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Monique Sablan. I am the Managing Director for the Cnmi Cannabis Commission. Hafaday, Honorable Chair and members, my name is Monique Sablan. Sorry about that, it's my written statement. I'm here in support of the renomination of Commissioner Valentino Tysacan to serve another term on the Cnmi CC board. Since the beginning of his first term, Commissioner Tysacan has always provided thoughtful suggestions in regards to the creation of the cannabis regulations, and has also taken roles that go beyond his responsibility as a commissioner. He has consistently stood committed to ensuring that our beautiful islands to the north have the representation that they deserve by sharing his experience and providing feedback. He's also been such a huge logistical support for our physical office here in the Cnmi, assisting me with maintenance and upkeeping. I don't think anyone wants to see me do maintenance work out there. But throughout the years, working alongside Commissioner Tysacan, he's been just an asset to the board, and I believe that renominating him to represent or continue to represent the Northern Islands would be in the best interest of not only the Northern Islands, but the Commonwealth as a whole. So I hope my testimony today is useful, but if you have questions, I'm more than happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sablan. You may email your support comment this afternoon to my staff. Thank you very much. We are still open for public comment. There's nobody else in the area, so we are officially closing the section of this agenda under public comments. If I may also call now on agenda item 5, the nominee, Mr. Tysacan, to please come up. And it is the standard practice of this committee that we administer the oath before your testimony and before any questions are being asked by the members. If you would please rise and raise your right hand, and the clerk will administer the oath. Thank you.
Mr. Valentino M. Tysacan Jr., you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we proceed with your statement to this committee, This afternoon, I do want to officially introduce our legal counsel for this committee, sitting in this afternoon, Senate Legal Counsel Antoinette Villa-Gomez. And to her right is our clerk, Ms. Jolene Tagawell. And also we have our IT and our Sergeant at Arms, Jonathan, and Mr. Talahi. Yes, providing assistance to us this afternoon. To our right, Representative Lee Pond. And to his right is Representative Vijay Atto. To his right is Representative John Paul Sablan. And to my left is Representative Danita Yantamay. To her left is Representative Vicente Camacho. And to his left is Representative Tina Sablan, who is also the vice chair of this committee. And to her left is Representative Karina Magopnia. Thank you very much. You may proceed with your statement this afternoon before the committee.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and honorable members of our SNILD JGO delegation. For the record, my name is Valentino Taiscan Jr. I would like to thank our Honorable Governor Ralph de Leon Torres, Honorable Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, and our Honorable Mayor of the Northern Islands, Vicente Santos Jr., for the confidence in me and reappointing me back to be a board member in our Cnmi Cannabis Commission. As of December 7, we have a total of 8 licensed businesses here in the Cnmi. Because the Cnmi cannabis industry is very new, I know that there are a few challenges in the industry as well as uncertainty, but if we, the Commission and the legislature, work collaboratively with investors to streamline regulations and laws and protecting our environment and our youth. Once again, thank you, and I'm ready to serve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taiscan, for your brief statement this afternoon before the committee. We're going to move right along on the agenda. We are now on item 6 for discussion. So this is the section of the agenda where we open up questions that any of the members would ask, and we do a full circle. I normally ask the last questions, and I do allow the other members, if they wish to ask more questions, to just interrupt me. So now we are opening for questions for the nominee. I recognize Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome, Mr. Valentino. Just one question, and this is coming out of your safety report. During the fiscal year 2021 budget, if you have that in front of you, pursuant to Public Law 2135, the Commission initially received a total appropriation of $235,108 for fiscal year 21. Now, at the end of the fiscal year 2021, the budget amount that was left was $352.63. Now, my question is, how is it that the end of the fiscal year amount is larger than the initial amount? Is the end of the fiscal year language correct, or was it supposed to be something else?
Can I have a moment? I'll just look over my notes here. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. I just verified with our managing director. At the beginning of the year, we had austerity. So towards the end, we started getting appropriations.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what you just said. Can you repeat yourself, please?
Yes, so what, the beginning, we had austerity measures. That's why we had that. And then towards the end of before the end of the fiscal year, we had some appropriations.
And would that be the ARPA?
Yes.
That was the money that was infused.
Right.
How much was it though? Because it doesn't show on here.
You know, I don't have that number with me today. I apologize. But we have our director here. She's basically doing the budget and
Okay, so, all right, so it's just that the numbers don't connect. Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Camacho, for, just for information, for organization of the Q&A with the nominee this afternoon. Whenever committee members ask specific questions, we do appreciate that you would come back and provide those inquiries to the committee before we proceed on with the decision regarding the confirmation of the nominee. Thank you very much. Any other member that would like to ask a question? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Mr. Tice again. Congratulations on your renomination. My first question is just to clarify your earlier response to Representative Camacho. Did you say that the Cannabis Commission received American Rescue Plan Act money?
I'm sorry, I'm not too sure if it's American Rescue Plan, but I believe we got some appropriations from SNILD.
Oh,
If
so
I'm
it's
not
local
mistaken.
appropriations, not the
Right.
federal funds from ARPA. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And then my next question was just based on your earlier statement, you mentioned that there are challenges and uncertainties facing this new industry. And I wanted to ask you, what are the main and most important challenges that you see in the cannabis industry in the Cnmi, and how would you propose to address them?
Thank you. For us, the Northern Islands, it's kind of hard to get up there and bring products that we have. So, maybe working with the legislature, we can draft something up to help alleviate some of those issues that we may be facing.
Okay, so the transportation and infrastructure issues for the Northern Islands.
Yes.
And are there any licensees in the Northern Islands at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. How much interest is there in cultivating or producing cannabis in the Northern Islands?
I think there's a lot of interest out there, with issues about security here in Saipan, Pinian and Rhoda. I think we can use the Northern Islands for producing cannabis.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Ms. Sablan mentioned that you were very instrumental in helping with set up the new office. What is the status of the commission's new office? Is it operational and open?
Yes, we're actually operational and up and running now. We have a few staff on board already to assist our director.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going along fairly good, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then my final question, Madam Chair, is I wanted to ask if it is standard procedure to allow cannabis businesses to grow marijuana and operate before they're actually licensed. And if the commission has received any complaints that some businesses were allowed to do so, while others were told that they needed to wait until their licenses were approved.
Not that I know of Ms. Sablan or Rep. Sablan, but they're not allowed to cultivate unless they have a license.
Okay, and so no complaints were brought to your attention?
No,
I see.
not that I know of.
Okay, thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Any other members? Recognize Representative Karina Magopian.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Congratulations again. Monique, Ms. Sablan shared with us this morning during our Commerce and Tourism Committee meeting that the Northern Islands is considered public lands. And based on your statement a few minutes ago, there are plans to plant cannabis on Northern
So are we working on a legislation to, okay,
Yes, that's one of the plans. It's just a plan, although we cannot cultivate in public lands. We would, for us Northern Islanders, we would want to see something, yeah, for us to start growing. And I believe it's the legislature that could help us with that.
and so in addition to that, with the way the laws are right now, from what I understand, there's a number of miles out from inland out, right, where it's Cnmi jurisdiction, and then after that would be federal. So how do we propose to, resolve that issue?
It's like I said, Ms. Rep. Corina, maybe with us legislature working together with the federal, maybe we can work something out, an agreement that we can transport between islands. It's good. There's a lot of obstacles for us, but there's a way. We can find a way.
One last question, please. So on the citizen-centric report, one of the challenges that was listed was the inability to purchase a cannabis tracking system to enable real-time tracking of cannabis within the Cnmi. Is that still the case?
Yes, that's one of our wish lists too here in the Cnmi cannabis. It will be easier for us to track all the plants that we have here in the Cnmi, and that will hopefully it will help us, take out the black market.
Got it. And how much is something like that? What are we looking at as far as cost?
Rough figure, I believe it was 200 some thousand, not too sure.
Thank you for your response.
Thank you, Representative Corina Magofnia. Recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Director Sablan and Commissioner Tysican. First off, I just would like to thank you and congratulate you for your renomination by both the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor, as well as the Mayor of the Northern Islands. I'm sure you will be a continued asset if confirmed by the full body of the SNILD. But I just have one simple question. I know that in the last legislature, we were having some issues with regards to regulations. Are there still regulation in zoning that are conflicting with the regulations with the cannabis? Like example, the number of feet from cultivation on areas like.
I believe we submitted an amendment to the zoning, sorry, not to the zoning, but to the legislature. Since it's 500 feet, but with zoning, it's, I believe, 200. So that is something we have to go back and look at.
Okay, I'm glad that is being addressed. And are the others that of concerns with regards to indoor and outdoor kind of regulations that perhaps zoning regulations are perhaps what's called is hurdles to your regulation and the Cannabis Commission?
I think that's basically the 500 and 300 feet, but with everything else, with all the licenses that come in, there's no obstacles or challenges.
So with the number of feet, the zoning administrative office that agreed for those changes, those are already in place. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jean Paul Sablan. Recognize Representative BJ Atto.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome Ms. Sablan and Mr. Tysican. Thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Mayor of Northern Islands for your renomination, and most especially thank you for accepting the renomination and taking on this new industry in the Cnmi. In regards to Rep. JP Sablan's question on the policies for the Cannabis Commission is 500 feet, and I know that the 200 feet limit in zoning, that's for like poker machines and all those other industries, correct? Yeah, because I'm bringing this up because it's, why would you want it to be embedded in law when it'll take away the flexibility of the zoning board to actually be, and it's stricter right now. Why would you want it to be embedded in law, and then in the future, should the dynamics change and we have to increase the distance, we're gonna have to go back to the law when it could be the policymakers and the board of the cannabis commission that can actually address it, rather than going back to the legislature and changing it in that sense. I'm just saying that it would be best that we get the legislators' hands off of these kinds of stuff, so that the board has some sort of authority in making stuff a lot stricter in the future. So I don't know if the Cannabis Commission have presented it already to anybody in the SNILD.
So yes, thank you, Mr. Vito. For that, it's in our law that it's 500 feet versus zoning law that's stating 200 feet from any schools, church, daycares. So
And
that's the
that's-
conflicting part there with our law and versus the zoning law.
So the zoning law, when it was created, included cannabis already? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was
that
amended, okay,
yes,
it was
that
amended,
amendment, yeah.
so I guess it'd be the zoning law that needs to be amended,
Right.
correct? Okay, okay, now, sorry, now just to make it clear, and it's unfair, as a policymaker, and it's also unfair as a director, because this is a very new industry, and we're trying to work all the kinks, and
Sorry, I want to add, because for clarity for him as well, is there's conflicting from zoning law where they mention the restrictions for certain things.
Right.
But in our law, it mentions restrictions for certain things that don't include poker establishments.
I would allow you to come up to the microphone, Ms. Monique, and state that on record, please. Thank you very much.
No problem. Sorry about that. I don't know how these things go. I'm sorry, I wanted to clarify. So it's not regulations. It's the zoning law versus the Cannabis Act. The Cannabis Act says 500 feet from daycare, youth center, hospital, churches, etc. Whereas the zoning, the issue that we have there is if they get approved for 300 feet from a poker establishment, port of entry, there's certain things that don't match up. And so our fear, on the board's fear, is that if they approve someone for 300 feet, but they come to us and they're within 500 feet, we automatically have to deny. And they had gone through the process of a conditional use permit, which is a very lengthy process. That's kind of why we want to change the law. Is there some places, such as a micro producer, who's a very small license, or someone who's not trying to cultivate 5,000 square feet, they're only trying to do 25 plants, which is not a lot. So there's certain things that we've already drafted. Yes, in the last legislature, we're just waiting for that bill to move. So hopefully we can bring that up and have discussion again here with SNILD.
sure, thank you.
Apologies, I really am not sure. I'm sorry.
No, you guys are okay. We're just asking questions here. We're trying to understand it better. How many licenses do we have in any of the categories for Rhode Island?
Yes, well, we don't have any for Rhode Island, but it's in the works now.
Okay, okay. And because now that's another animal, because they don't have a zoning law.
Exactly.
That affects
It's
Rhode
actually,
Island.
some people look at it as a benefit, but it also is, we do want to ensure as the commission that since they don't have a zoning board or a zoning office, that we still do our due diligence with public hearings. We have a policy set up for when it comes time to license or to have someone want to apply. But we do have interest from Tinian and Rhoda. We're just working with them to kind of see how do we encourage that market there pending legal services requests that we had submitted to the AG's office. There's a lot of things that we're trying to ensure are legally correct before we make a move or we make a statement about Tinian Rhoda / Saipan Northern Islands, etc.
Okay,
oh my
so
God, I'm so sorry.
no, you're all right. So this would say that if there was an actual business on Rhoda and Tinian today, they would have to abide by the 500 feet. What we're trying to change is the Saipan zoning to reflect the cannabis law, right? Okay, that's clear. How much have we collected so far, Director and Commissioner? How much have we collected in regards to the industry so far?
I'm so sorry. I was more prepared for this morning where I had my laptop. So the collections that we're collecting, they're I don't call them revenue. I call them regulatory fees.
Sure.
So they're the licensing and the application fees. We've collected maybe over 100-something thousand. It sounds minuscule to people, but it's a lot for us in terms of hopefully that can be operational funds that we can use to, build staff, etc., get a cannabis tracking system. But the revenue generated through the actual licenses and businesses, obviously is through BGR, cannabis tax, etc. I was actually speaking with the chairwoman of Cannabis and Commerce and Tourism this morning, saying if they could give us at least till March, where the first license has met its first year in operation, we can provide that kind of data. And working with revenue and tax to give you guys that they're making money, that's for sure. Could we have more assistance, more funding, more budget, everything like that? Definitely, but we see the industry bringing in money, but I don't think we're going to see anything really happen until tourism is back. Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So at its current stage, all the collections from the fees or if there's any penalties, do those go directly to general fund or do they go back to you guys?
Oh my gosh, on my hearing.
Just a moment, please. Let's just have some order here. We're hearing the nominee this afternoon. I understand that you have been sitting as a treasurer for the Cannabis Commission, and a lot of these questions are financial. So if you do need the assistance of the executive director, you can go ahead and flag us on that. Go ahead, please, and answer the question of Representative Apple. Thank you very much.
Sorry, what was that question?
So all the fees and penalties, if there's any penalties or fines that have been collected by the commission, they've gone directly back to the commission, or is it going to the general fund?
General funds. It goes back, I believe, to the revolving fund or general funds.
It's kind of tricky. We do collect them, as in we have accounts that are set up, cannabis accounts are set up for, like, say, homegrown penalties or fines, etc., commercial fees. It doesn't necessarily go to us. It's subject to appropriation by the legislature. And so we have current House Bill 22-78 that we're trying to create a revolving fund that can be assisted as regulatory fees to help our operations. That's not in place right now. So what we are collecting in terms of licensing and application fees is sitting, and we don't get it. We have to wait for the legislature to give that to us or appropriate that to us. So please appropriate that to us.
No, that's important, right? Because we need the consistent continuation of the funds going to the Cannabis Commission. And one of the biggest difficult things that if it goes to finance and it's put in specific accounts, no matter what, at the end of the day, if there's a larger account that fits all the sub accounts of the government, and it might possibly co-mingling with federal funds, and we can't have that, right? Because we can't use any of those funds to go to any entity that receives federal funds. So okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Representative, can I mention something about that? Actually, we are working with Treasury. We understand that's a very huge, that's something that could be an issue. We are working closely with Treasurer Agoto to ensure that that's not the case. I can provide you more of an update maybe at a later date, and I'll resume back on Monday, maybe get in contact with her for an update for you guys.
Sure, and that would be for the committee, Madam Chair. And also, I mean, because this is one of the things that was brought up during the whole industry being introduced here in the Cnmi was bringing back the credit union, because it's separate from finance, and those we can actually funnel those monies there, so we know exactly that any funds collected from this industry is totally separate than anything from finance, so that we make sure that if those monies were going to go out to any department or line item agencies, that they're not affected because they receive federal grants and they might lose potential federal grants in the future. So that being said, I thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Vijay Attu. Recognize Representative Lee Kwan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Administrator and Commissioner. I just have one question, Commissioner, and maybe the Administrator can, give me an answer to it. In all the licensee of this, have any of them been cited for violation? And has the Commission taken up any of the licensee before the Commission?
For as of now, no, we don't have any. I mean, we are working on fines and fees, but there's no, what do you call it? Sorry.
That's more, I think, of a internal, with myself as the regulator. Have we had licensees who have made violations? Certainly. There's nothing to escalate towards a revocation of a license. Just
So-
maybe minor things. And we do have a mitigation process in order to have them address those things. But nothing super drastic, no.
So it's actually just the office itself handling all this?
Yeah, we handle the enforcement action, yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
One more for the record is the enforcement action does get run by legal, for sure. So before any enforcement or any mitigation has to go through, we go through our legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Lee Kwan. Recognize Representative Denita Yantamai.
Congratulations, Mr. Tyson, for taking up the renomination. Actually, most of my questions were answered by Monique this morning. Thank you. So, going back to Rep. Tina's question about the giving license to someone who already grew something, right? Because a lot of people were calling in my office complaining about that. Did you do anything about that?
It's interesting. We know cannabis has been here prior to the actual legalization of marijuana. So we do know that there's a black market, for sure. Are we trying to eradicate the black market? Is it possible to eradicate the black market? Absolutely not. That's with any jurisdiction. Are we trying our best to enforce and to work with DPS, Customs, ABTC even? Definitely. Do we have the resources that we need 100%? Absolutely not. I think we're doing our best. I'm sure that there are people out there who are cultivated and are not licensed, but we're really doing our best to create an enforcement task force that works with other agencies to alleviate that issue. We're really trying. We do have licensees who, they're approved, and we're glad that they had walked into the white market. I don't know if that's what you call it, the white market. But we're trying to encourage that with others who, are notorious for being black market people. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Denita Yantamai. So I recognize Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you again, Chair. Mr. Valentino, this is in reference to a budget again. Public Law 2108. The Commission initially received a total appropriation of $551,479 for fiscal year 2020. And I guess during the pandemic, there was a 40% adjustment overall. And at the end, it was adjusted to 295,867, right? Is that a correct 40%? Because from, here's what I found, that really it's 53.6%. Now, the question is, how did we get to 40%? Was the proportionate reduction across, was that the initial amount, or sometimes the adjustments were made sometimes during the fiscal year? Monies could have been spent in the first quarter, second quarter.
The way that OMB provides our appropriations are through monthly allotments. And so probably in the beginning of the fiscal year, our allotments were X amount. But as the fiscal year continues, if there are more reductions or there are, more reductions in general, then that allotment could become smaller. It could only be, how do I say this, appropriated for personnel, or it can only be appropriated for XYZ. I'm not really sure how else to explain OMB the way they do it, but I do know as the managing director who handles those funds is that we do get monthly allotments of a certain amount. And sometimes that monthly amount is not enough, to facilitate and operate. I mean, for the longest time, we were working out of people's conference rooms. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. Just so you know, there's like a 13.6% difference in the calculation. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Let me check on that and make sure that the calculation is correct. I apologize, but we'll provide something for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Camacho. Any other member that wants to do a follow-up question? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one follow-up question on the tax issue. Did the commission participate or submit comments in the drafting of the proposed regulations from revenue and tax on excise taxes that affect the cannabis industry?
Was this recent?
Yes, it was just published in the most recent Commonwealth Register.
We have been trying to go through our legal counsel, who's been working, I guess, also with Rev and Taxes legal counsel. I am aware that there are discussions about this. I haven't been able to I haven't seen that, to be honest. And so what I can do is follow up and to see, but we have been reaching out and having meetings prior to this with Rev and Tax and their legal counsel to kind of get an idea of, it's not our job to explain to our licensees how taxes works. That's a Rev and Tax thing, but we do want to at least be knowledgeable to assist.
Sure.
But no,
So
I
you
haven't
seen
that.
Yeah, and the comment period may have ended already, so unless they've extended it, I'm not sure about that.
But I do know with our legal counsel, we have those conversations, which I'm glad though, if the comment period is done. Unfortunately, I wish I had known, but I'm glad that our legal counsel has the basis for that to discuss with their legal counsel. So let me follow up as well. Yes, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablan. Any other member that would like to ask more questions before I begin my questions before the nominee and with the assistance of the Executive Director, Ms. Sablan? Really appreciate your presence here. Before I begin my questions, I do want to go on record with the nominee that the members have a lot of questions this afternoon. I hope you guys are taking good notes and that we do expect some responses back to those inquiries so that we can make that become a part of the committee for your subsequent review with the entire SNILD delegation. Let me move on with my questions, and members, if you have any questions as I begin my questions, go ahead and flag me and I'll recognize you. So, Mr. Tysican, I did spend a lot of time reading the centric report for the Cannabis Commission. I believe your first report was the year 2019. To date is 2021. I also did spend some time on your existing regulations, and I looked at the membership. I believe it's 5 members for the Cannabis Commission, and you have been the treasurer since inception of the organization of the commission, correct? And that you are all also earning a compensation of $55,000 a year. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Now pursuant to Chapter 180-10.1-1110, Cnmi Cannabis Commissioners, Section A, Autonomous Public Agency, Section D, it states, members of the commission shall each be compensated pursuant to law. And Section E says the members of the commission are not employees of the commission or the Cnmi government. My question to you, so if you're not an employee of the commission nor the Cnmi government, I am curious, how are you classified considering Section D states, members of the commission shall each be compensated pursuant to law? Are you self-employed with a business license? Are you or any other members of the commission paying for state withholding taxes? Are you all taking a payroll deduction of Medicare and FICA, which is federally required for any working citizen? Or are you paying for a monthly BGRT, considering that you are not an employee of the Cnmi government or an employee of the commission? Or do you all receive a annual 1099 NEC for non-employee compensation under the IRS rule? And are you also a member of the Cnmi employee DC plan? I need some clarification on this question, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, we are paying our BGRs. We have our own business license, paying BGRs to revenue tax, our monthly payments. What was your other question, Chair? I'm sorry.
You have stated that you are paying your BGR, so you do have your business license. So
Yes.
it is safe to say that you're not paying into any withholding. So you have an exact. Are you guys paid on a biweekly basis or on a monthly basis? It's $55,000 per year. So how are you all compensated?
Semi-monthly.
Semi-monthly is every 6 months.
I'm sorry. Yes, semi-monthly. For over the year, yes. Semi-monthly.
I will give Ms. Sablan to provide some clarification, please.
Currently, the way that it's set up is the commissioners receive their pay semi-monthly for the course of a year, so a fiscal year, from October to the next October, 1st to the 15th, 15th to the 30th/31st. That's how the payment is drawn up.
Let me just do a quick calculation here. So pretty much you're getting a gross pay of about maybe almost $2,300 every 15 and 30.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you do pay your monthly BGRT taxes with the Cnmi government, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I would think you guys are current. Thank you. Okay, so that pretty much, I guess, confirms that you are not paying your, as an ordinary employee of the government, your FICA tax, you're on your own, basically.
Yes.
And you're paying your Medicare and whatever else payment you're putting into, and you're not a member of the DC plan, correct?
Yes, we're not a member of the DC.
You're not a member of the government DC plan?
No.
It's a employer-sponsored retirement program, so you're not a member?
No.
No commissioner is a member? Okay.
No.
The government is not putting in their contribution, correct? 10% of every payroll that a person puts in, the government matches, I believe, 4%. Is that, you guys are not getting any matching, right?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's on record that you're not a member of the DC plan, and that the government is not carrying the burden of matching your contribution if you have a retirement program. Okay, let's move on to my next question. Again, I read all your centric reports, and I want to ask how many trainings have been conducted to local law enforcement agencies with respect to the new regulatory system that will govern the Cnmi's cannabis industry.
Sure. I believe our MD had did one already with law enforcement agencies.
I'm really glad to be here. I feel like this is great to be able, for the record, in the beginning, we had initiated training in 2020 And that was because in August 2020 was the actual opening of our office where we began to initiate the applications. Release the applications for people to apply. The training began October 2020. We started off with the Department of Public Safety in conjunction with the Criminal Division Legal Counsel at the time, Chester Hines. We are currently in the works of creating a enforcement task force, which will have a representative from Customs, DPS, ABTC, Criminal Division from the AG's office. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember what exactly the document is. And that is where we're going to have brainstorming discussions about who is responsible for what with the AG's guidance. And then we're going to go in and roll out the continued training with lower level staff. So such as DPS's patrol, those who are constantly out there in the community, driving around, seeing what's going on in the streets and whatnot. We want them to be fully trained and understand how the law works in conjunction with our regulations. So yes, training is ongoing.
Thank you, Ms. Sablan, and I would encourage the Cannabis Commission to accelerate the conversation so that, the necessary trainings that are involving other law enforcement agencies are up to the standards, so that we want to make sure that whoever's going to be affected, especially our youth, that they are protected.
Oh, sorry, I wanted to add that yes, that does also include educational trainings. We do have a agreement with the local drug enforcement task force to have them assist us by going into schools when schools are open to provide these educational trainings. But I'm also trying to figure out ways that we can release media-based educational videos. We do have a social media campaign that I'm currently planning right now, which will pretty much be, it's the same thing that other jurisdictions have done. And so it will be, marijuana and the marijuanas, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the risks of cannabis, just to give you guys a teaser.
Thank you very much. So that takes me into my next question regarding statistics report on youth access to marijuana, considering that the training and the outreach and the educational platforms, outreach is still being worked on. And I would really like to encourage, again, the commission, Monique, I really appreciate accelerated conversations and implementation of what is necessary to ensure that our community needs are addressed with respect to the risk and regarding the taking of marijuana.
Definitely. Once our campaign is launched, we will provide you guys with the direct access to links and other resources.
Thank you very much. Let's moving right along. I do have a lot of questions here, and I want to make sure that I cover every concern that I have before the nominee. On August 21st, 2019, Public Law 21-5 was signed into law. However, the governor's transmittal letter caught my attention, which states, quote, allowing for the potential generation of substantial revenue through the growing, processing, and sale of marijuana and hemp products in order to fund public safety, retirement fund, PSS, of which 25% of the gross revenue tax is collected from the established cannabis tax account and other governmental and social programs. My question is there a model analysis done on the potential growth of this industry within the Cnmi that you can provide this committee? How much revenue has been collected? And you had mentioned that earlier. You don't have to respond to that right now. Has been recorded with the cannabis tax account. I believe you guys are still working that with the business office or the finance office. So on my initial question, is there a model analysis done on the potential growth of this industry within the Cnmi that you can provide this committee? It's a simple yes or no. And if it's, please go ahead and answer the question. Mr. Tyson?
Yes, not at this time. Like our MD said, by March we will have our first licensee who's going to be turning 1 year. So from there we can, but we are working on it. Yes.
Okay. I'm sure, Monique, you do understand what I'm talking about in the model analysis, projection-wise with respect to the growth of the industry. So if you guys are working on that, futuristically speaking, I think it's a very important report. We're talking about an industry here that is, has a lot of potential growth in the United States and any other country that has the industry itself. So no matter how we say how young it is in the CNMI, it's not young in the world.
Right.
So professionally, we need, when we talk about the economic industries of the Commonwealth, we have ventured into the cannabis industry. That is just one area of investment in terms of potential growth of an industry for any market that we need to have as a report. Thank you. Can you, Mr. Tyson, summarize to this committee what is industrial hemp and how the use of industrial hemp can contribute to the CNMI's overall economy?
I apologize for that, Madam Chair, but I know that there was a bill that Representative Marco Peter introduced and was passed for the regulation for hemp, and it places it under Department of Lands and Natural Resources.
Okay, so it seems like that particular legislation needs to be revisited for the potential opportunity. Go ahead, Ms. Blunt.
Apologies, I want to talk a little bit more about that. So initially in 20-66/21-05, it had included the hemp industry to be under our purview for regulations and regulatory business. Like Commissioner Val was explaining, in 2020, there was a bill drafted by Marco Peter, former Representative Marco Peter, and it had removed the hemp industry from the Cannabis Act and had put that under the purview now of Department of Land and Natural Resources Division of Agriculture. So they are now responsible for the creation of regulations to govern the hemp industry. And I want to talk a little bit more about that so there's understanding. The Farm Bill Act requires that there is a state plan that is drafted. It's usually drafted by the state's Division of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture. So for us, it's an understanding as to why that happened, and it makes the most sense for us.
All right, thank you. So any update that you may have in terms of report, you can provide the committee so we can include that in our report.
We will reach out to the Division of Agriculture and see what's.
Thank you. Moving on with questions. Again, if you don't have it, you can just go ahead and state it on the record that you will provide it to the committee at a later date. Can you tell this committee the data between medical and recreational use and how much revenue has been collected from such applications? If you need to come back to that, you just let us know and we'll get it back from you later.
We definitely will need to come back to that, but I did want to provide an update in concern with the medical side of the cannabis industry in the CNMI. It is something that we are talking and having communications with CHCC. We do understand CHCC does have a lot of federal funding that's coming in as well, so it is definitely something that they need more time to discuss on whether or not they would allow a medical marijuana anything partnership to initiate. But we do have regulations currently implemented for a marijuana testing facility, which is a laboratory. But without a laboratory here in the CNMI and not a fully established partnership with CHCC, we would like that to happen prior to anything happening with marijuana. So yes, I will get back to you. We will get back to you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on right along here. So I'm very much interested also from your commission to, can you tell this committee who is the primary target clientele for the CNMI cannabis industry and how much revenue projection is anticipated from this targeted clientele? If you need to get back to us on that, let us know. I understand you mentioned the black market. I do know that you had mentioned earlier there's 8 licenses that have been issued. Considering that some Asian countries do not allow their citizens to use marijuana because they travel, and by the time they get back to their country, they could get in trouble for that. So that is a very specific question. I would like to hear from the commission who really is the target clientele for the industry itself. If you need to get back to us on that, that'd be good.
Definitely will get back to you, but I do want to make comment is there are 2 components to the Cannabis Commission. One is commercial and one is non-commercial. The non-commercial side is what we classify as the homegrown marijuana registry, and that allows the privilege of our community members, as long as they're able to meet the requirements in the application processing, to be able to cultivate at home for personal use. And this is a personal statement on myself. That is something that's great to have in lieu of a medical program, because it allows those who maybe need it for medicinal use to be able to cultivate it on their own if they're not able to afford whatever the prices are currently within our retail shops, right? The commercial side, our clientele, you're correct. It is true. We have done our research, and we are currently also, we have spoken with MBA as well to see what does that market look like, because we know that we're more Asian based or Asia country based. We want to be very cautious, and we want to make sure that we're not, if anything, making more disruption with other countries that might not be inclined to marijuana. But I will get back to you on that. But I did want to make that comment that our initial clientele right now, especially with the pandemic, is mainly locals. The locals are the ones that are going into the retail shops and purchasing, truly. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. I believe we all of us understand that.
Locals who are 21 years of age or older, thank you for the record.
Thank you for stating the age too. I really appreciate that for going on record. Okay, so let's move on right along here in the interest of time. Are you aware of Senate Bill 2201 to remove marijuana from pre-employment testing by all government employers and OPM with certain exemptions? And if so, what is your opinion of it? Now, you don't have to state your opinion now, but if you do submit an opinion, just briefly share with us.
Yes. In my own personal opinion, I think, we should, because it's legal already, just like alcohol. There are certain times where, when you report to work, you don't drink alcohol. So I believe we should try and look into it and see if we can decriminalize it from the drug testing. But yes, I will bring something.
Thank you.
So we actually did, Chair, on behalf of the commission, we did make a comment on that bill. I believe it was in the last legislature when it was introduced, and then now it has been reintroduced. So I believe for us on behalf of the commission, our comment still stands. We are in support, but with very, very stringent and strict reasoning. So for pre-employment and random testing, like, that needs to continue if there is foreseeable reason, as if an employee is, let's say, showing, inadequate accomplishment in their job. Exceptions are definitely for law enforcement or anyone that handles medical care, or those definitely need to be looked at. We had researched other jurisdictions that have implemented some sort of law like this, and I believe Las Vegas was the one that we had based this opinion on. And so some of the things would be positions with potential to significantly impact health or safety of members in the public, positions that are transportation related or require a commercial driver, positions that require care or supervision of children. We do have agencies that do deal with children, and other positions that require executive decision making. So those things in our comment for that bill, yes, we are in support, but we are in support only and only if these are also included into that.
Thank you so much for that. And I believe that was the last legislature. We are in the 22nd. Hopefully you can resubmit your comments to the appropriate committee, just so that we keep current with what other people are thinking about. My next question is, can you update this committee the latest on federal legalization of marijuana for interstate commerce? If you don't have that response today, you can provide it to us later on.
I can provide that to you later on.
Okay, thank you very much. I know we talked about revenue specific activities up in the Northern Islands, so I'll pass on to that. And but my question on the Northern Islands, are you aware of any individuals that have already acquired pieces of properties up north, potentially, looking at the development of the industry itself as we speak today?
No, not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Okay, thank you very much. Can you describe to this committee what is the distribution channels for marijuana within the CNMI? Briefly,
Distribution channels.
yes.
Sorry, could you clarify?
Regulatory dispensary, recreational stores, standalone retailers, etc.
I'm so sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? I'm just trying.
What is the distribution channels for marijuana within the CNMI? So we understand we have some shops, right? So,
Yes, correct.
so is that your primary distribution channel right now?
So we have currently the only license that is able to sell to consumers is a retail license or a class 1 lounge. We do not have a class 1 lounge currently, but we do have multiple retailers. For producers or cultivators, they're able to sell to other licensees, but not directly to a consumer. So our production or producer licensees currently are only able to sell to either themselves, other producers, or strictly to the retail shops at the moment.
Thank you. I know a lot of this conversation is very fluid right now, so hopefully in your future reports that a lot of this, that we are talking about is considered in your centric report or annual report or whatever other report you guys are producing for the community, so that a lot of these gray areas are covered for questions like this.
Definitely.
My other question is, are there any existing restrictions or limitations for CNMI businesses in this industry with respect to banking or any financial institutions? Oftentimes businesses, when they start up, they need startup capital. I do understand that right now, this kind of industry cannot pass through the financial institutions, which is regulated by FDIC and the federal government. So a lot of these businesses are holding on to a lot of liquidity, meaning cash, currency on hand. Any update on that? If you can't provide that again this afternoon, get back to us later.
I can provide more information, but I would like to update as to where we are with that with local banks. Correct. Cannabis industry is mainly a cash flow only, but apparently there are ways that banks are able to use a middleman party to verify funding. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk too much about something I'm not super
You
clear
can
about.
get back to us on that.
Yeah, but we have met with banks. They have discussions with trying to understand our regulations, and there are apparently third party or middleman consultants, agents, something like that. I'll just get back to you. Apologies.
Thank you very much. All right, so again, it's a lot of revenue talk, a lot of data talk. So I'm also interested, and I'm sure the committee is also interested in the CNMI marijuana usage statistics. I know that Department of Commerce is by law required to gather up a lot of data. So I would look forward to your particular commission working closely with the Department of Commerce in terms of gathering the necessary data so that, any policy decisions that needs to be made with respect to the industry itself, a lot of this information is easily accessible. Again, even for those that are willing to invest in the industry itself. Now, we talked about, I know your tracking system and you're talking to CHC, and then that is my next question is, can you describe to this committee what quality assurances are in place to ensure that the products sold to CNMI consumers are of the best quality and that regulatory standards are adhered to by the business enterprise? What is the frequency of enforcement compliance visits that has been done? Earlier, you had stated you're working on enforcement regulations and things like that. And I do want to bring you, I know you're probably not going to provide me much answer to this question, but again, I would place a lot of emphasis for acceleration of conversation, considering that the industry has already been in existence for 3 years. I have seen postings on social media of consumers concerned about what is the regulatory enforcement with respect to testing the product that the consumers are buying. So this is necessary, and I really urge the commission to take this seriously. We don't want to have an accident out there where somebody's consuming something and somebody dies. It is our responsibility, and the responsibility also rests on your commission. Thank you. Again, consumer protection is of utmost importance, and testing for contaminants, fungus, mold, bacteria, mycotoxins, and testing and labeling of potency of the products. You know what I'm talking about, and this is why the importance of working with the necessary regulatory agencies and testing laboratories is necessary for the consumers in the community, because the businesses have already been licensed, they are operating out there, but the consumers are not protected. We can be held liable And one thing, definitely, nobody in this committee wants to see anybody get hurt as a result of lack of enforcement, lack of lab testing to make sure that the operators are running their business properly. Thank you. Now, with the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, I know many industries have been affected. So briefly, just kind of like give us a negative effect that has been reported from the operators. Has the sales gone down or has it gone up? I'm sure there's a lot of stress out there. And I'll take a break after this, a 5-minute break. You may think about your answer.
I actually liked also the previous question that you had posed. I want to answer everything today. It's a great opportunity. It really is.
I was thinking, I hope you guys are ready because I do have.
Whenever you guys need us, we're able to provide. Going back to your other question, sorry, Chair. In terms of quality assurance and quality control, from the initial and very beginning, from when application packages are received, there is a how do I say this? Sorry. They are required to submit their quality control and quality assurance as standard operating procedures. And we do base that on ensuring that they're not using pesticides that might be harmful, that if they're nutrients that they're using, are they organic? We also have Commissioner Thomas Song who has a plethora of knowledge when it comes to pesticide use from his many years of expertise under the Department of Land and Natural Resources, and also just understanding agriculture in general. And then also that you were talking about enforcement and how often do we do our site visits? We try to do them randomly, if not every other week. I don't want to give out a schedule right now, but there's a schedule to be able to go in to make sure and to ensure that whatever it is that has been in place at the time of licensing, that it's correct and it still stands. We have had issues where some things have changed and they have not been reported. And so we do go through our mitigation and enforcement action with that. And we do our best to have them alleviate those issues. But can I just be very blunt and honest, is that for the last 3 years, I have been the only actual staff of the commission up until July 2021, where I was able to hire my first staff. So yes, trust me, enforcement and ensuring that the protection of our youth and our community is at the forefront. Constantly at the commission, we're trying to find ways to be fiscally conservative in terms of reaching out to other jurisdictions, other colleagues who have the same positions as me. So let's say, for instance, I just acquired a mentorship, a free mentorship program with the executive director of the Massachusetts Control Board, Cannabis Control Board, where he will be mentoring me, but also assisting and having his staff mentor my staff, completely free of charge, just via Zoom. And so we're trying to figure out what resources we can do and what we can use to build without having to, realize that we do have budgetary constraints. The second question, can you repeat the second question? Apologies.
I think you pretty much covered the response on that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I hope you guys are taking a lot of the questions down because we do need that for our committee report, considering that there's a lot of unanswered questions. I'm going to ask this question and then we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and finish up on more of my questions. But I know we talked about the career cannabis tracking system, which is critical to track legal activities from being diverted into the illicit market and to ensure that illegally grown product is out of the legal supply. With so much federal funds on hand, and of course we got SNILD, I just want to know whether have you been having conversation with the administration to request for assistance for funding to procure this particular tracking system, which is necessary for the industry. We cannot have an industry and not have a system in place to track legal activities and to remove illicit activities from the market. It's unfair for those that are running their businesses properly, paying their BGRT taxes monthly, and allowing the black market to flourish. So if you haven't done that, I really want to encourage you to do that. Have that really candid conversation. If you want to see a potential growth of this industry, because we still a lot of data missing, we need to have those upfront and honest conversation. And of course, we have the SNILD delegation. We don't have all the money in the world, but if you guys are thinking of putting in a request to purchase the software, do so as well. And but not to discount the greater amount of money that is sitting within the executive branch at their disposal. So I really would like for you guys to pursue that. I did state a lot of accelerated conversation actions. You have businesses that are being licensed and do not have a cannabis tracking system in place, which is necessary, is very concerning. Now, I want to move on to this question on your concentric report 2020. Under challenges, it states personal payments by the commissioners and managing director for additional operational supplies and needed building improvements. Can you tell this committee what was the amount of this payable owed to the commissioners and the managing director? And also this concern, I guess it's not mentioned on the 2021 concentric report. So am I going to make the assumption that it's already been paid off? Or do you still have an outstanding payable to pay yourselves and your managing director for using your own personal money?
I believe technically through law, the commissioners are not able to receive reimbursement. So the payments that were made, for example, the roof of our office had multiple leaks. And so we weren't even able to safely move into that office until those leaks were fixed. Because I believe we were trying to move in during typhoon season. So it was constantly raining. And also having equipment in there, it could be very dangerous. So we did have commissioners who had put in some money to ensure that the roof was fixed. And I believe that was a grand total of $4,000 to $6,000, with them knowing that they weren't going to be able to get reimbursed for that. As for myself, I am able to get reimbursed, but I'm not looking to get reimbursed for some things. I'm actually not trying to get reimbursed. I know it's kind of silly, but I realized that with this job, that's what it took, is sometimes we have to make sacrifices in order to make something work. So whether that means I have to use my personal phone or my personal computer or buy notebooks and all these other things, you have to do it sometimes. Can I get reimbursed? Yes. Am I trying to? No. Yeah, I'm very appreciative to the commissioners who understood that they were not going to get reimbursed because of the law, and they had done it anyways.
Thank you for your generosity and an in-kind contribution. I hope you take that into consideration when you're applying for a federal grant so that you could add it up. But don't be shy to submit your reimbursement, because when you guys are requesting for a budget, you will not know your true expenditure of your prior operations if you're going to be asking for more money. So again, I appreciate your in-kind contribution and for using your personal equipment to run your organization. But I'm not going to highly encourage that. Okay.
Just to reiterate a few things. Yes, we have had some funding come in. I am no longer always having to use my own funding. Also graciously thank you to SNILD, who had appropriated some money for the rest of the things for our office. I am currently trying to get all of my staff legit computers and whatnot. I did wanted to pose more of a comment for the cannabis tracking system. 100% absolutely correct. We need it. I want to give you guys an idea of what a cannabis tracking system looks like. It's not an off-the-shelf product. It's something that needs to be built for our commission here. Obviously, we are kind of working in sometimes dinosaur times. Oh, sorry, I don't know if that offends anybody. In different times now. So with the cannabis tracking system, what it would do is it would provide us with real-time information. And it's not just about regulations, it's about reportings and understanding trends. Like how you had mentioned earlier that we are responsible for the safety of a community. And so this is from seed to sale tracking. If a retailer had sold, let's say, a bad batch of something, maybe pre-rolls or I don't know, and that had gotten somebody or a group of people sick, we're able to see all the way back to where that first production, where that seedling had first sprouted from the ground, and we're able to recall all the products from that batch, whether they sold to only that retailer or other retail shops. So with that being said, it's not a one-time fee for a cannabis tracking system. It's a yearly fee. It's a membership kind of thing. And I do want you guys to know we have had conversations with other current cannabis tracking system software holders or whatever you want to call them. So we have an understanding of how this thing works and how it needs to be built. But I do want to also mention, it's not just about acquiring a cannabis tracking system. We need someone who's able to run it. So actually other jurisdictions, when they acquire a cannabis tracking system, they also have to hire someone from IT who is able to run it. And I'm not an IT person,
Okay,
but I'm
thank
pretty
you.
good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, I would bring it back to accelerating the conversation, requesting for financial assistance as necessary to run your industry properly. Okay, so my last question here, actually, two more to go. I noticed on your central report, you talk about your challenges, which is the lack of designated legal counsel as reported on your central reports 2020 and 2021, which is significantly affecting the legal guidance that is needed for the commission. You are aware that Article 3, Section 11 of the Cnmi Constitution has been amended, right, by House Legislative Initiative 17-2. Additionally, under Title I, Division 2, Subsection 2153H, to act upon, which is the agency's responsibility as a council upon request to all departments, agencies, and instrumentalities of the government, Commonwealth government, including public corporations, except for the Marianas Public Land Trust. I am concerned about this. Again, if you need the funding to get yourself your own legal counsel, if the agency cannot step up to the plate and provide you the services you need, I suggest, again, you accelerate this conversation at your level of the commission and push forward for requesting that additional financial assistance, but not discounting having a conversation with the executive branch to see what kind of funding can they provide assistance to you so that you can be assisted to run this industry forward and potentially see a much more greater revenue production with respect to the growth of the industry Cnmi-wide. My last comment would be, or question, I'm very concerned about the youth population. I've been reading a lot of journals. The usage of marijuana, what is the effect on the brain? And there's some studies done that there is an effect on the brain and that reduction in IQ in the later life has an effect. I want you guys to understand that as much as we want to grow the industry, we cannot disregard the need to ensure that our kids are given the proper information so that they can make the proper decisions as they grow older in life, and also for teachers to make this part of their educational materials, including parents as well, in terms of the discipline. We cannot be a society to bring all the revenues that we want at the risk of our citizens. So again, I want to encourage you guys to continue on with your efforts, Monique, Ms. Blanc, and as well as the other commissioners, Mr. Tyson, to push forward with what is needed to protect the community as well as we move forward in growing the industry itself. I don't have any other further questions, but I do want to go on record that there are two written comments that came in for you, Mr. Tyson. One is from Mr. Vicente C. Santos Jr. in support of your renomination, and also from Mr. Juan T. Iguel. There's two comments that came in, and we'll also wait for your comment, Ms. Monique, for our records. Members, is there any other follow-up questions from the members this afternoon? Recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. May I just clarify, and I apologize if you addressed this already, but you mentioned you have legal counsel. Is it outside counsel or through the Attorney General's office?
So I just wanted to clarify that on our citizen-centric report. There's been a little bit of confusion with legal counsel. We're very grateful to the Attorney General's office. They provide us legal counsel so long as they're able to. We don't have designated where they're solely under us and they only handle cannabis-related legal issues. We really do need one. That's kind of where I was going with the CCR when we reported that our legal counsel from the AG's office is also responsible for multiple other agencies, just how every other AAG has to do that. But to have a legal counsel that's able to focus mostly on us because of the fact that we are still federally an illegal substance would be tremendous and would definitely help us in making the utmost best decisions. Usually what happens is we have to wait for a response from an LSR, and that kind of puts the motion of the office on a pause. And so it's, especially when it comes to enforcement actions, like I mentioned, we always go through legal. But if it takes a day or two and the enforcement action needs to happen now, I want to make sure that's an official act, and the official act is not an official act until it's legally verified. So I won't make an action, and that's just where it is right now. So we don't.
But just to clarify, is your access to legal services impaired because you don't have a designated legal counsel just because they're all busy, or is it also like a factor of the fact that cannabis is still federally?
It's actually
illegal?
more so the first
Okay.
statement, which is, it's not that they're too busy for us. I just understand that they have other things that they need to do as well. And they do help us as much as they can, especially when we have meetings. We have to ensure that we at least have a legal counsel present.
But there are no concerns about federal grants with the AG's office being jeopardized because they're providing assistance?
From my knowledge, I don't know. That could be something that they do have. That's an issue that they discuss maybe amongst themselves, but that's never been targeted to us or acknowledge or let us know that that's what it is. But the first is usually what it is.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Tina Solana. Short recess. Thank you. Okay. We are back in session after a short recess. We'll ask Rep. Tina and Karina too. We're back in session. Okay, so I don't have any further questions for the nominee, but just maybe a 3-minute attention to the screen. Shut the lights, please. Ms. Sablan, I'm sure you're going to be interested in this since you are the executive director for the office. I do understand that every department of the government is required to submit a centric report to the legislature, but I am personally interested in a much more robust reporting from departments of the government, especially for our consumers to be able to know more about, the operations of the office and revenues, data, industry, and things like that. So we're just gonna kind of like go through this. Go ahead, run the slide, please. To give you an idea, maybe moving forward, that this kind of reports can be produced for the legislature and also for the public to have access to. I am interested in, again, analysis, data. Go ahead, you can run it. Charts, revenue collections, enforcement, things like that. So pretty much just to give you an idea, and hopefully your commissioners can help you out on this to support you in producing a much more robust reporting for the community. Yeah, that's about it. I was glancing online and I saw the San Diego report. So yeah, you can see a lot of information, charts, right? Industries, challenges, financial impact, quarterly reports, monthly on sales, things like that is very, very necessary. As an investor from the outside, a lot of them will be looking at reports like this, whether it's a viable market to invest in and what is the potential for growth with respect to their business. And then also the Cnmi government can also mathematically project forward how much the industry itself can produce with respect of revenue collections to support other programs within the government. Okay, I'm glad we went through that briefly. Remember? That would end the Friday, right? A lot of numbers on pie charts. Yeah, so I'm happy that we have come to an end with our meeting this afternoon with the nominee, and I'm very grateful for Ms. Monique to be here with him to provide support and much more clarification. I want to commend Ms. Monique for providing that assistance to the commissioners. Continue to do so. I know in their centric report that even the commissioners themselves needs to be trained and improve their capacity. It's quite obvious this afternoon that a lot of the questions that are being asked without your assistance would have been very difficult for the commissioners. So again, commissioners, you guys are very lucky to have a very dynamic and intelligent executive director that could help you guys navigate the industry and keep you guys much more in tune with what's happening, not just within the Cnmi, but outside in the greater states throughout the United States that are growing industry, even in Canada. They even publicly trade stocks, cannabis stocks out there, investors. So you got members in here that are actually very much involved in those kind of investment arenas. So a lot of the conversation this afternoon is not elementary. Moving forward, I myself personally, I expect a lot. Anybody appearing before this committee for their nomination and confirmation. Many years ago, the Cnmi government just kind of like rubber stamp and let's just go ahead. No, not this committee. I believe that people deserve better and information and standards has to be higher. Appointees also have to perform with respect to what they are sitting and expected to do for the community. Thank you. Members, anybody else? I recognize Representative John Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And after many questions and answers, at this time, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that this committee, SNILD Standing Committee on Judicial and Governmental Operations, under your leadership, Madam Chair, formulates a committee report recommending the confirmation of Mr. Valentino Taisecan Jr. to the full body of the SNILD for confirmation that he serves again as a member of the Cannabis Commission. So moved.
It has been moved and seconded. There is a motion to prepare a committee report for the full body of the SNILD delegation for the confirmation of the nominee this afternoon, Mr. Valentino Taisecan Jr. All those in favor say aye. Nays? Motion carried. Thank you. 2-minute break. Afternoon, and we're going to move right along in the agenda on section 7. There's really no official announcements, but I know we are, I believe, 8 days before Christmas, and I do want to say happy holidays to everyone. Be safe, be well, and I don't expect us to have another meeting after this today. I believe we're gonna end the year, ending the nomination of Mr. Tysick, and I just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. It's been great working with this group since I took the chairmanship of this committee for SNILD. It's always a productive conversation with anybody that appears before the committee, and I really do appreciate all of you. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much. May I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting this afternoon? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much.
The maids can stay back.